Hey, good evening, everyone. Megan Reckling. It has been way too long since I did a live video. There has been so much that happened. I think it's been a couple of weeks since I've been on, so I'm excited to join you guys tonight. So much to update you guys on. As you guys hop on, let me know where you're from. Click and share this video. We have so much to talk about today. It's unbelievable the things that have been happening, and there were quite a few items of interest that I think the residents of Michigan should know about today. Some exciting things that have happened, and some things that we as conservatives and Republicans, not only here in Livingston County where I'm at, but across Michigan, should be aware of as we're moving through this year of 2021. So gonna give it just a minute as people hop on. Again, like I said, drop me a note where you're from in the comments below. I would love to know. If you have any questions as we go, don't be afraid to ask those. If I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. And then if I don't have the answer, I can always follow back up with you and try to answer the question as best as I possibly can. So it seems like we have quite a few people getting on tonight, and I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and get rolling because we have a lot to discuss tonight. Okay, first and foremost, I would ask you to raise your hand, but you can't. I can't see you. You can see me. If you don't believe our governor is a hypocrite, I'm not sure exactly what to tell you, but there was breaking news just moments before I came on to do my live stream that not only did one of Governor Whitmer's top staff members travel over spring break, and not only did the director of the Department of Health and Human Services travel over spring break to Alabama, it has now come out within the last month, the governor herself left the state of Michigan. She actually traveled by leaving our state. You guys might have seen my comment last week after her press conference where the media asked her about travel restrictions and her staff traveling out of Michigan, and she swatted the question away. She literally said, "Oh, that's just a political hit job by Republicans on my staff, and I'm not going to discuss my staff, but let me make this crystal clear. There have never been travel restrictions in Michigan." Apparently, it has now become the cool thing to not only have Democrats rewrite our nation's history, they're now rewriting their short-term history. They have long-term memory loss and short-term memory loss. Our governor must forget she prohibited people from traveling unless it was for essential work. She prohibited people from traveling to their second vacation homes. For months, people have not been able to travel, and for months, people have been discouraged by her and her administration from traveling unless it was considered essential. Now it comes out that she herself, almost a month ago, right before, Michigan's big surge, went to visit her father, who, by the way, lives in Florida. So although her press secretary would not confirm where she traveled to, more than likely, since we know that she went to visit her father, she went to Florida, the state of freedom where people can travel and they don't have to wear masks and businesses can operate, and their governor down there is doing a fantastic job responding to the crisis and keeping people safe while not infringing on people's liberties. That state, that's where she went. So our governor completely has shown she wants you and I to live by one set of rules, and her and her people to live by a completely different set of rules. And her traveling continues to reiterate that over and over and over again, that she does not expect the same thing out of her and her staff as she does everyone else. And the staff contended that, don't worry, she gets tested frequently. It's okay. She's never tested positive. We know it's okay for her to travel. What? At no point has the administration ever said that people can travel if they test frequently. That's not the rhetoric she's using. She's using completely her own rhetoric to give herself completely different sets of rules, which is a load of crap. So Moving on from our wonderful governor who has decided to follow, rules for me and rules for thee, let's move on to the next topic that I am extremely excited to talk to you guys about tonight. There are hundreds and hundreds of people, not only here in Livingston County, but all across the state, who worked on the Unlock Michigan petition last year. I personally collected thousands of signatures working with hundreds of activists here in Livingston County. I have been involved in a number of petition drives for right to life as well as others throughout our state's history. And I can tell you, I have never, ever, ever seen the excitement or the energy that I saw for the Unlock Michigan petition. And that rang true when the Secretary of State finally started looking at the signatures that were submitted last October for verification. The Unlock Michigan petition did this in 80 days. They literally broke land record speeds getting these signatures. This was not just a Republican movement. There were independents and Democrats who did not believe that one person should be able to run our state unilaterally. And that's really what this boils down to. There is nowhere in the Constitution where it has a little asterisk and it says, in case of pandemic, your liberties get suspended. I've read it multiple times and I've read it again. Nope, it's not there. It doesn't say, in times of crisis, you guys can just cede these for a little while and hopefully you get them back. It literally doesn't work that way. The Constitution was written to protect our first, second, third, and all the way down our rights, and the rights enumerated to us by God through the Constitution, whether we're in good times or bad. It's kind of like your wedding vows. The government has to live by that regardless. And there are Democrats and there are independents who, regardless of their political philosophy, don't believe that we should have one person making all of the decisions for the entire state of millions and millions of people. So today, the Secretary of State has been reviewing the signatures submitted for the Unlock Michigan petition, and they came out and they said a few things. First and foremost, there were 538,000 signatures submitted by the movement. So 538,000 signatures. We need 340,000 signatures to be verified and legitimate to make it through the process. So 340 is the goal that you have to have. We submitted 538, so well above the threshold, to give the governor and her Keep Michigan Safe group that is trying to whack away at this the opportunity to whack away at the signatures as best they can, and we're still going to end up with at least 340,000 signatures. So after the review, the Secretary of State came out today, this afternoon, and said 3 or 4 different things. First and foremost, Keep Michigan Safe filed a challenge last week to this petition. And what they basically said was that the Secretary of State has not officially promulgated rules to certify petitions through the rulemaking process, so they can't go ahead and certify this. The Secretary of State basically said that's kapoo-poo. The second thing is they said that Keep Michigan Safe said the Unlock Michigan petition was unclear. For those of you who signed it, it was basically one sentence. It basically says, eliminating the Emergency Management 1945 Act. That's literally what it said. You couldn't have been more crystal clear. And what they're trying to argue is the petition didn't explain to people what that law was, so people are stupid and didn't know what they were signing. Therefore, it was confusing and all of the signatures should be thrown out. The Secretary of State kapoo-pooed that as well when they said back in July of 2020, the Board of Canvassers unanimously approved the petition language. So the petition had gone through the right steps. They had gotten their language pre-approved by the Board of Canvassers unanimously. It can't be considered confusing. The next thing that Keep Michigan Safe did was they tried to not reject, but they tried to object to a certain number of signatures. So the way the process works is they pull 500 signatures out of the batch. So we submitted 538,000. They pull 500 signatures out of the pile, and they do an analysis, and depending on how many come back good, gives them an overall percentage of how many in the 538 are valid. The Secretary of State knocked out a few signatures here and there for technicality, knocked out some sheets for petition people who didn't sign them properly, and at the end of the day, Keep Michigan Safe challenged 168 signatures, saying they weren't valid, to try to knock us into another round of review. And the Secretary of State basically said, we reviewed your challenges and we agree with one of them. Unlock Michigan tried to rehabilitate 64 of those signatures, and Secretary of State basically said, we agree with one of them. So on both sides, when it was all said and done, according to the rules set forth before the Board of Election or the Bureau of Election, they estimate, and this is what they said, based on the results, I'm literally reading from the memo issued by Secretary Benson's Bureau of Election. We based on the results of the random sample, it is estimated that the petition contains 460,358 valid signatures at a confidence level of 100%. A surplus of over 120,000 signatures over the minimum number required by Article 2, Section 9 of the Michigan Constitution. Over 120,000 above the threshold needed to put something before the legislature, and if they don't act, then it goes before the people for a vote. The staff recommends that the Board of Canvassers certify the petition next Thursday during their meeting. What an awesome win for everybody who worked hard to sign this petition, to collect signatures. This is a huge, huge, huge monumental step in that process. I just want to make a few caveats. Keep Michigan Safe is not done. They are doing everything they legally can to whack at this petition, to get legal holds and stops put on it, to get everything that they possibly can thrown out of court. Why do they want to do that? Everybody says it's been ruled unconstitutional. Why would anybody care whether or not now the legislature can act and remove that from the books? It's imperative that we follow through on this process. Yes, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled that 1945 law unconstitutional after 30 days if the governor doesn't engage and get permission of the legislature. But just because the Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional, if it is not removed from Michigan law, if it stays on the books, then eventually, or this year, the Michigan Supreme Court, if a new question goes before them regarding this same issue, the Michigan Supreme Court could reverse their ruling and give the governor back all of her power to unilaterally act by herself indefinitely. And she has significantly more power under that law than she does the current law, which she's utilizing for the DHHS epidemic orders. So it's imperative that we remove this law from our books so that not Governor Whitmer or not any future governor through the Supreme Court can have their decision reversed and utilize that bill. It's imperative that we follow through on this. This is why the Democrats are so dead set about protecting this statute, is because they hope, I believe, they hope to put a question before the Supreme Court, which has now flipped, it's out of Republican control, and then they can reinsert the governor into this process. This entire past week, and on Sunday, when the governor was on national TV giving interviews, talking about the new surge here in Michigan, she blamed the legislature. She blamed the residents because we aren't following her orders. She blamed the Supreme Court because they took away her power. Have no doubt, if the governor had access to these tools, she would use them. I believe the governor would still be locking us down if polling data showed she could get away with it. I think that's the number one reason. The governor is not following science and data. She's following political science to get her butt reelected. That's exactly what she's doing. So this, if you're out there and you're watching and you signed the petition, or if you collected and were a circulator, thank you. It was a Herculean task. It took all of us to do that. This is a huge step. So what happens now? Really quick, what happens now? So once the Board of Canvassers meets on Thursday and they certify the petition, that petition now goes before the Michigan legislature. And the Michigan legislature has a set number of days, I believe it's around 30, where they can pass just as written. They literally can't change a dot, a period, a punctuation mark. They have to pass it exactly as it goes before them. If they pass it with a simple majority, it is non-vetoable. The governor literally gets no say. This is how the citizens' referendum process works. We put something before the legislature saying this is what we, the people, want. If they pass it, it's law. So as of next week, minus the Board of Canvassers not certifying this, minus any legal action where the courts get involved, if on Thursday the Board of Canvassers certifies it, it will now go to the legislature, and as early as next week, they could vote to remove this off the books. If you have not done so, or if you did so months again, now would be the time to re-email your legislators in the House and the Senate asking them to support this. I'm fairly confident most of the Republicans, I believe all of them, do, but it is always good to hear from we the people that this is what we want them to do. So email your legislators and let them know how important it is that they pass this when it comes before them. Okay, moving on. I had posted about this over the weekend, and if you are an employee, if you are a business owner, if you are a resident, it is vitally important that you know about the rules that MIOSHA is looking to create, kind of permanent rules here in Michigan. So let's reverse back to October 14th, 2020. So almost, months ago. The governor issued through MIOSHA. So we're now talking after she had her unilateral authority stripped from the Supreme Court, and she couldn't make you wear a mask in a store, and she couldn't make business owners do all these certain things. She then started to weaponize, and that is exactly what she has done. She has started to weaponize state departments. The Department of Health and Human Services, MIOSHA. MIOSHA is the one who is going around Michigan, cracking down on businesses, giving them fines and fees related to COVID things. That's MIOSHA. She started to use these state departments more when the Supreme Court ruled against her, taking away her unilateral authority. So October 14th, 2020, MIOSHA issued emergency rules. Emergency rules, the way they work in Michigan, is they can be issued twice for 6-month periods. So then, back on April 10th, the MIOSHA renewed the rules. So October 2020, they issued them the first time. April, they renewed them. Well, now they know that these rules are going to expire October 14th of 2021. October 14th, I will repeat, October 14th, 2021 is when these rules are set to expire. The governor and MIOSHA has now gone and they have started the JCAR rule process. It's a process that state departments can use to create department rules. And this is really, really, really important for you, the residents of Michigan, to know about this rule making process. This is going to affect our everyday lives when we go to the store. So the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity for MIOSHA is requesting, as part of a rule set, and I'm going to post links to this in the comments when we're done, they are now noticing a public hearing on May 26th regarding a rule set that the governor and MIOSHA want to make permanent. What do these rules say? Well, Michigan Capital Confidential gave us a really good insight last week to what some of these draft rules that are now going through the what's called the JCAR process, the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, is once it goes through this process, it'll go to that committee for final consideration. So, workplace controls for all employers. The employer shall require face coverings to be worn when employees cannot maintain 6 feet of separation from other individuals in the workplace. And consider face shields when employees cannot consistently maintain 3 feet of separations from other individuals in the workplace. The employer shall require face coverings in shared spaces, including during in-person meetings and in restrooms and hallways. Oh, this one's great. Now, not only is MIOSHA attempting to regulate businesses, because that's what they do, they regulate the workplace safety of businesses. Now MIOSHA gets even better. Require patrons to wear a face covering unless the patron is unable medically to tolerate a face covering. So now, not only is MIOSHA looking to regulate business safety, they now want to regulate you and me, the consumer, as well, which they have normally not done before. They now want to require patrons to wear a face covering except when seated at their table or at a bar top. It goes on and on and on about mandated masks and all of these rules. And Steve, you're absolutely right. It completely ignores that the CDC has now gone to 3 feet. The governor and MIOSHA are continuing to look at 6 feet. The other thing in the rules, and I have made this clear to you guys before, I am 100% medical and vaccination choice. If you want to get the vaccine, you should. If you don't want to get the vaccine, you shouldn't. And guess what? Whether or not you get the vaccination is frankly nobody's business. I think that it has become severely dangerous, this cool COVID vaccine selfies. You would not want me to post the results of my female test online for everyone to see. It's frankly no one's business. Whether or not you get medical treatment is not my business. It's not your business. It's nobody's business. I made a post the other day. The Democrats are like, oh, elected officials, tell us who's vaccinated. None of your business. It doesn't matter. And on a side rant, let's talk about this for a minute. The Democrats like to perpetrate this narrative that Republicans don't want to get the vaccination. Well, part of what the Democrats have continued to say for a long time is that the vaccination, go back to President Biden, Fauci, Whitmer, oh my gosh, she continually said this. Vaccination is our key to restoring freedom. Vaccination is our key to restoring normalcy. When we all get vaccinated, we can go back to normal activity again. Now what is the message that they're sending? It doesn't really matter if you're vaccinated, wear a mask anyways. It doesn't really matter if you're vaccinated, stay 6 feet away from anybody anyways. It doesn't really matter if you're vaccinated, you still can't travel. It doesn't really matter that the rules end in October when a majority of the residents in our country by that point, if they want the vaccination, have had the opportunity to get vaccinated. None of that matters. When you get vaccinated, you are still going to live in our crazy state of crazy. How is that helpful? There's a number of people who might consider getting the vaccination if they think it would get them back to normal. But now the message is being sent that even if you get vaccinated, you still have to live in their world of masks and separation and no travel and no eating and all of the rules. I don't understand that messaging point at all. And again, in these rules that they are putting before the process, nowhere in there does it says vaccination. Nowhere in there does it say if you have immunity. There are millions of residents in this country. There are hundreds and thousands of people here in Michigan who got COVID and survived. Notice, newsflash to the Democrats, they're immune. That doesn't mean anything. Continue to wear your mask. This is not about science and data. This is about fear-mongering and control. Can they get us to do what they want? And that, the governor looking at implementing these rules that are set to expire in October, and she wants the department to be able to use these tools moving forward, should scare each and every one of us. So, how can we help? Because guess what? You and me get a control in this process. We get a say in this process. And let me tell you what, guys, I get it. We're all getting tired. It's kind of like David and Goliath, but now we're in round 12 of defeating Goliath. And David is tired. He wants a damn nap. Guess what, guys? We can't take a nap. We can't relax. We have to continue to fight and claw our way through this process. Freedom and liberties are difficult for us to keep. They always have been. They were difficult for our founding fathers to get for us, and they are not going to be easy for us to keep right now. We are going to have to claw our way politically back to pushing the government out of our lives. We can't throw our hands up. We can't wash our hands and walk away. We just can't. If we do, we're done. We're toasted. There's going to be nothing left. My kids are not going to enjoy freedom and normal ever again. And I can't let that happen. We can't let that happen. We have to all pull together. So, May 26th is the hearing before the department related to these rules. They're required to take public input. You can show up to the Zoom meeting and speak there, or you can send your comments to the department via an email or by a letter, and they have to be there by a certain day. They have to be there by May 26th at 5 o'clock p.m. I am going to post a link to the MIOSHA rules and then the public hearing notice in the comments when we're done here. Please take a minute and email the department your thoughts. So the way the process works is they're going to have public hearings, they have to have public comment, and then once they have finalized the rules that they want to consider, it's going to go before JCAR, the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules. That is a committee in the legislature made up of both members of the House and Senate. It's a dual committee. Both of them are on there. In fact, here in Livingston County, our own state senator, Lana Tice, is on the JCAR committee. Once the rules get to that committee, and frankly, even before the rules get there, we have to be making our voices heard to the people at the right time in the process. So right now, we have to make our voices heard to the department. Then, if they propose the crazy rules to JCAR, we have to let our voices heard to the members of that committee, because they have different tools that they can utilize to basically stall forever these rules from becoming effective to where the department can use them. So our legislators are not engaged in the process yet. There's a process, and the process is we have to give MIOSHA our public comment at the hearing. So I'm going to put that in there. There is absolutely no reason why we should be looking at mandating face coverings. Oregon was the other state that is looking to mandate face coverings. I saw a news article today that the CDC was going to start to walk back face coverings. People are getting vaccinated. Again, We were told for months by the Democrats that was the key to normal. That was the key to freedom. Now we're being told it doesn't matter how many people get vaccinated. It doesn't matter when that happens. You still can't go back to normal. Well, that's not helping anything. It's not going to help anything. Newsflash, I want normal. People want normal. The governor is complaining that she's having a hard time with people following her orders. Well, guess what, Governor? We're sick and tired of you running over our rights, our freedoms, and our liberties. We want normal back. And people are only going to follow crazy for so long. Okay, so there's MIOSHA. Get involved in the process. The last thing that I want to talk to you tonight about is redistricting. Guys, I've gotten on here and we've talked about this before. Let me tell you what, redistricting is not a sexy topic. You don't look at the world of politics and go, oh, redistricting, I'm in, sign me up. It is just one of those things where you can get really detailed really, really fast. It can get really boring really, really fast. But let me tell you what, this is literally out of everything else going on. The policy that the state and the legislature and the governor are working on, that's all in one bucket. But when we look at how do we win friends and influence people to win elections, because if we all haven't learned in the last 24 months that elections have consequences, really not sure what else it's going to take. From the state level to the federal level, elections have consequences. Had Georgia not lost the 2 runoffs, we would be having a very different dynamic at the federal level. Elections have really, really, really big consequences. So, before we get to 2022, when Whitmer and Benson and Nessel are all on the ballot, who we have to beat, there's no ifs, there's no ands, there's no buts. We have to defeat the 3 of them. We also are going to have, here in Michigan, our entire congressional delegation up for election, our entire Michigan House, our entire Michigan State Senate. All of them are going to be on the ballot for re-election. And let me tell you what, we don't have a filibuster in Michigan Senate. As much as we have to beat Governor Whitmer, Michigan is a cyclical state. We have a history of how we elect our governors. We elect our governors for 8 years at a time, regardless of how idiotic they are. And then when they're done, we elect the opposing party for 8 years at a time. And it just kind of swings back and forth. 8 years Democrat, 8 years Republican. 8 years Democrat, 8 years Republican. So for us to beat Whitmer is going to be a historical election anomaly. The only thing that we have going for us is it shows that Michigan tends to vote against the White House. So the fact that Biden won gives Whitmer a little bit of a disadvantage. But you guys are absolutely right, Bob. We have to have good candidates because guess what? People are not just going to vote for somebody because they have an R next to their name. I don't vote for somebody just because they're a Republican, and I don't expect you guys to either. You have to vote for them because they have a message, they have a plan, and there's somebody that you believe is going to get something done. You got to have good candidates. So none of that, when you look at what's going to happen in 22, we are a handful of seats away nationally from retaking the U.S. House. Could you imagine Pelosi no longer being Speaker? I can. I can't wait to work for that. But no matter how good our candidates are, no matter how inspiring our message is, and no matter how much money they raise for 22, none of that matters if the Independent Redistricting Commission draws maps where no matter how good we do, we can only win 46 House seats. And you need 56 for majority. And there's 38 senators. And if we can only win 14 Senate seats, none of that matters. Again, we don't have a filibuster. We don't need more votes than just half in either legislators. Can you imagine Whitmer having the House and the Senate right now? What would be going on? We would literally be New York, California, Illinois within months. Not even months, maybe weeks. The only constitutional restriction that they would really have is the 5-day rule. You can't pass a bill until it's been in the chamber at least 5 days. That's pretty much it. After that, they are going to run roughshod over our state. This is really, really, really important for us to be involved in the redistricting process to make our voices heard so that when we get to 22, after we have done election integrity reform and after we get through the primary, when that's our chance as conservatives to voice our opinion, who should be representing us on the ballot in all of those seats, hopefully we all pick good candidates, that we can all work our asses off to get them across the line and protect the House and the Senate. And then I have said it before and I will say it again, out of Whitmer, Benson, and Nessel, I believe that we have to beat Jocelyn Benson. We have to take back the Secretary of State's office. We have to take back the key for who runs our elections to really restore election integrity. We have to. It's important. She, to me, is the most important out of the three that we beat, in addition to keeping the House and the Senate. So the Redistricting Commission has been meeting. They have been meeting consistently, and they're going to continue to meet consistently. As I have told you guys before, the criteria for redistricting has changed. It's no longer keeping municipalities intact. There's 7 different criteria. The top one is this: they have to keep all districts the same number of people. The second is the districts have to be contiguous. They have to touch. You can't have a 4-mile landmass between this half and that half and kind of have like an island floating in the breeze. It all has to touch from one end of the district to the other. The third is communities of interest. The district has to reflect, or districts across the state have to reflect, Michigan's unique communities of interest. And communities of interest are completely undefined. You and me and everyone else is going to be defining these through their public comment at the 16 meetings that the commission has approved. I am going to put a link to these so you guys have the list. The first meeting is May 11 in Jackson. For those who are watching from Livingston County, May 27th in Lansing, and June 8th in Novi. Besides, if you want to drive to Jackson, are our closest meetings. That's where we can make our voices heard in this process. And let me tell you what, guys, it's an important process to make our voices heard in. A decade ago, Livingston County needed 2 state representatives. And guess what? We have 2 state representatives. Livingston County now needs 2.1 state representatives. 10% of our district, 10% of our county is going to go somewhere else. I live in Handy Township. I live in Cows and Corn. There's not a lot out here. 10% of our county out in the rural area is a sizable number of townships. Or when you get into the population, it's really hard to only split us 3 ways. It's really easy to split us 4 ways, and it's even easier to split Livingston County and give us 5 state representatives. We have a lot of skin in this game. We have a lot of skin in the game to make sure that we end up with fair maps. I have publicly said this. I don't want Republican maps. That's not our job. I want fair maps. I want the ability to run good candidates, because guess what? Republicans have an awesome message, and the president showed us the path to what all of us should look to for our elected officials. Take away his personality that a lot of people didn't like. President Trump embraced our nation, the people who live here, and the workers who build this country on their backs. And if we as Republicans can continue to embrace and expand on his message, American first, tough on foreign nations, supporting our agriculture, supporting our middle class white collar workers, we are going to do very, very, very well. That's all we have to do. It's really simple. He gave us the roadmap. All we have to do is take it and run with it and say thank you. So it's really important that we as Republicans participate in the redistricting process. I could go on and on and on about things in the redistricting process. I can talk about differential privacy, which is something going on with our census data that would make every single one of our head spins. Differential privacy, your homework tonight is for all of you to Google it and then come back on my page and ask me, why in the heck do we even do the census? The state of Alabama has sued over differential privacy. And just as a really brief summary, technology has gotten better over the years. Duh, we have the iPhone 12 Max, where years ago we just had the iPhone 2. So technology is obviously improving. With that being said, The academics at the Census Bureau now believe that what they have done in the past to hide people's identity is no longer good enough. So when they send out the census data to the states, they make sure that no one can know that Megan Reckling, who lives at this address in Weberville, is the specific person who filled out this census with all of their kind of private info. But now, because of technology, the Census Bureau is saying we have to add noise to this data. So by the way, hey states, all 50 of you, the only number that we're going to give you that's accurate is your state total population. After that, how many people live in a county, how many people live in a township may not be right. They're moving people around. So they could take 20,000 people out of Oakland County and plop them here in Livingston County. Not only are they moving people around, they're moving ethnicities around. So one community may have, in reality, 5% Hispanics living there, but the census is going to show that they have 1% and they're going to move the other 4 to other areas. Again, the more you learn about this, the more you're going to ask, why in the hell do we even do a census? This is really important stuff. I have been watching every single meeting of the commission, and here's what we have coming up. On May 11th, if you live in Livingston County, I am doing an online class with a couple other people to talk specifically about redistricting. You're going to be able to ask questions, not just state redistricting. So the Independent Redistricting Commission is doing our congressional seats, the state house, and the state senate. There's another redistricting that happens on the local level for your county commission seats. That is called the County Apportionment Committee, and that's made up of 5 individuals: your county clerk, your county treasurer, your county prosecutor, and the chair of the Republican and Democrat Party. Those 5 people are going to redistrict locally your county commission seats. And just to make this all really confusing for you guys, they follow 2 different sets of rules. The state commission has to follow one set of standards that they look at to draw districts, and the local county apportionment committees have to follow a completely set of different standards, the old APOL standards, to draw districts. So May 11th, that's a Tuesday night, at 7 o'clock, I am going to do a Zoom specifically about redistricting. If you want to participate in this Zoom, go to livingstonrepublicans.com/events. I'll drop the link in the comments, and register. You have to register and fill out the info to get on the Zoom. There's no ifs, there's no ands, there's no buts. I have to know who you are to participate in this redistricting Zoom. The link will be sent out that Tuesday morning. It's going to be a Zoom link. If you live in different counties and you would like me to speak to you or a group of friends, either in person or online, send me a comment. We can make that happen. I am working with a big group of people who are making sure that the residents of Michigan are engaged, at least on the conservative side, and aware of this process. This past week, the Redistricting Commission did a market survey, and they said that only 24% of Michigan residents even heard of the commission. 24%. 1 in 4. Only 1 in 4 even knew what this commission was doing. If you were a Democrat, 44% of them had heard of the commission. If you were a Republican, only 20% did. And by the way, 47% of the people who had heard about the commission thought they were corrupt and that it was a rigged system. I take grief all the time from the Democrats when I talk about redistricting. The chair of the Democrat Party and the media likes to do things like, look at those Republicans. They are trying to interfere with the redistricting process. No, I'm not. You and me and all of us have the constitutional right to make our voices heard for how we believe we want fair lines. They are sitting at the table and we get to sit right next to them. They are trying to not only cancel us in life, they're trying to cancel us in redistricting. And it's up to you and me to make sure that we don't allow that to happen, because the Democrats are expecting us not to be there. They are expecting us to throw our hands up and get pissed, frustrated, to assume we're going to get screwed at the end, and to not participate. We can't do that. We have to be there side by side, and we have to demand, at the end of this, fair lines. We got to run good candidates. We have to tell people our message. We have to inspire them, and we have to make them believe that we have a vision for our state and our country that they want to support. That's our job. But before we even get there, we have to make sure that we have fair lines so that when we do that, we have the opportunity to win and we just don't get screwed on the back end. All right, so I saw some questions coming in. Kathy, you asked if I have a counterpart in Genesee. I am working on redistricting, not just here in Livingston County. I am working on it statewide. Over the past couple of weeks, I have been in Gaylord, Escadaba, Mackinac City, Eaton County, Oakland County, Macomb County, all talking about redistricting, all teaching people about redistricting. If you want to set up a group in Genesee County, I am more than happy to work on that with you. Dave Robertson is over there, who is also very knowledgeable about redistricting. So again, even if you don't live in Livingston and you want to learn about redistricting, whether it be on a Zoom that you set up with your local party, your local group, this is a big, if you are a part of things like the Second Amendment groups throughout the state, guys, this is for you. This is what you have to focus on this year. In addition to all of the policy stuff, we've got to participate in the redistricting process. If we don't, and the Democrats win, you are looking at what is happening on a federal level, happening on steroids here in our state. So it's really, really important that we participate in this process. The last thing I will say is I do weekly emails that talk about what the commission did. I watch their meetings every week. Sometimes they last 5 or 6 hours. Sometimes they're meeting twice in a week. If you want to get those emails, I'll also drop a link where you can fill out the Google Doc and put your name on the email list, or you can private message me your email and I'll add you to that list. So those are the things I wanted to hit on today. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, if I missed your questions, I will go back and answer them in person. You guys have my email, megan@meganreckling.com. I always throw my phone number out there, 810-522-8265. You guys feel free to call, feel free to text. Yep, I get nasty calls and texts. They just go in the voicemail. I'm not worried about what other people have to say. We need people who are going to be out there and speak our minds and defend conservatives, regardless of how much crap they take. So, if you guys have any questions or specific things, Toddlers and Masks. Thank you, Miranda. So, Toddlers and Masks. Let's hit on that really quick before I go. I have a toddler. I have a 3-year-old who, by the way, has been diagnosed with asthma. He gets respiratory issues really easy. I am not putting a mask on my kid. We should have the ability to wear a mask or not wear a mask. We should not have the government mandating it. Masks have become way too political, but they have become political because I believe Democrats have made them political by making us wear them. And now the governor has gone even a step further. We have gone over a year through this. For an entire year, we have not made kids wear masks. And now all of a sudden, last week, she issues new orders making 2 to 4-year-olds wear a mask. She has kids. She must totally forget what it's like to have a 2-year-old when you're out in public. They don't keep jack squat on their face. Not only do they not keep anything on their face, but it drops on the floor. Apparently, you're supposed to keep like a whole pack of masks with you, because when the mask falls on the floor, according to the governor, we should just pick it up and stick it right back on their face. I'm sorry, but that cannot be safe. That's absolutely idiocracy, and only a lunatic would want to do that. Guys, I can't tell you what to do. I'm not an attorney. I can tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to mask my kid. I don't even make my oldest daughter, who's 6, wear a mask when we go out. I just can't. It's not healthy for kids to wear a mask all the time. And oh, by the way, for this whole time, kids haven't had to wear a mask. So we go shopping at the grocery store and your young kid doesn't wear a mask, but then we all get in the same car and take our mask off. And who doesn't have a toddler and every once in a while you lick their ice cream spoon or you clean their fork off or you clean their plate? Give me a break. We're all family. We all intermix together all the time. Kids are not transmitting these. And what the media is doing to the public by not showing us or telling us the real facts, yes, there are a number of kids who are in the hospital with COVID. What they're not telling us is we know for a fact that all of them have a comorbidity. All of them. That's not being talked about. Do you know if your kid has a comorbidity? I do. I'm cautious. If I have somebody who I know has been exposed, or if I have somebody that I know has the virus, I'm cautious. I have a son that has asthma. I don't go around breathing on people. I wouldn't suggest you do either right now. Parents are not stupid. Parents are incredibly smart. And parents, above all else, commonly want to protect their children. We don't need the government to do it for us. Newsflash, parents can parent. We can't parent when the government decides they know better than us. So, if your kid has a comorbidity, take the steps that you as a parent feel that you need to take to protect your child that has a comorbidity. The rest of us, even my kid with a comorbidity, I don't make wear a mask. It's going to cause him more issue. We have parents that now are watching their kids diagnosed with more asthma and other type respiratory issues, and they believe it's because they were wearing a mask for a year. Can I say it wasn't? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But for the governor to continue to think that now we're suddenly going to mask our toddlers is absolutely crazy. And again, I'm a big I do me and you do you. Right now, the Democrats want to do me and you and everyone else. They want to tell us all how to live. The reason I'm a conservative, the reason I'm a Republican, the reason I support the Constitution is I believe I am personally responsible for my own actions. Not you, not the government, not anyone else. And so we need more people to realize that they're responsible for their actions and to take the necessary steps that they feel that they should. If you want to stay inside, stay inside. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. Just don't make me do any of that. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Make your voices heard about masks. This is not over. The Democrats have shown this is not over by the governor using MIOSHA to propose rules that would go past October when we know a sizable number of the population. If we get to October and you want to get a vaccination and you can't find it, that's your own fault. That should be your own fault at that point. I cannot predict the future. If I had a crystal ball, I would be a billionaire. But I don't. I don't have the winning lotto numbers for next week. What I do know is the rhetoric by the president, the current president, by President Trump, by Whitmer, is that we should no doubt be vaccinated by the fall if we want to get vaccinated. We should be somewhat back to normal. And if we're not, all of our red flags should be standing up, asking why. And again, I would argue it's not because the governor is using science and data. She's using political science and polling numbers. So, yep, Marcia, you're absolutely right. We are bringing in illegal aliens from the southern border up to Michigan by the hundreds. And some of these groups have said they're testing. Some we don't know about. I read a fascinating article this weekend about how even Congress doesn't know where all of these people are that's being sent. And so that is extremely alarming in an issue that we should all be talking to our federal levels officials about. Whether they are a Democrat or a Republican, we should know where these people are being sent and if they are being sent to our communities. 100%. We should have the right to know that. And shame on any of our congressional elected officials who aren't pushing to get that answer. Carrie, you have managed to keep 5 humans alive and a few pets. I'm only on 2, and I call it a win every day when they finally make it into bed and they are still alive. Parenting is not for the faint of heart. We are all winging it every day until we figure it out. And some days you win big and some days you lose epically. I was talking to a friend the other day that I couldn't call back, and I said, sorry, I'm late. I spent the day waving the white surrender flag for my parenting skills. So with that, have a great night, everybody. Just know that there are good people out there who are fighting for our rights and our freedoms. This is not an overnight battle. We've shown that we're well past a year in. But hope is not lost. And we need all of us to continue to work together. It can be frustrating. It's mentally exhausting. It's some nights physically exhausting, but we have to continue to push. We have to continue to fight. We can't give up. We've got to keep doing it. No one else is going to do it for us. And if waving our white flag meant that we could just live in our own little bubble, I could understand it, but it doesn't. Our bubble's gone. It's popped. We can't wave a white flag. The battlefield is no longer the way it was in World War I and World War II. The battlefield is here, and our battle is different. We don't wear a patch, and we are not our military people, but we have to fight the political battle to keep our country free that people like my great-grandpa in World War I fought for. We have to. I don't feel that we have a choice. So I just ask that you guys stick with me and you stick with our electeds and our candidates. We support those who are brave and willing to speak truth to freedom, and we continue to fight. So thank you guys for tuning in. I will, at some point tonight, drop all of the links in the comments that I talked about. You guys have my email. You have my phone number. If you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, want to send me hate mail, I'll take that too. And with that, have a great night, everybody. And God bless Michigan, and God bless our fantastic United States.